Hello, critics, non-critics, and friends. Welcome to the Film Optix podcast, brought to you by the Drive-In Podcast Network, where we take a glance into comic book movies, blockbusters, indie films, and everything in between. I'm your host, Christian. Today, I'm joined by three friends of the show. Starting off here, we have Dives from the Suit Up Geeks podcast. Dives, how you doing today?
What up, man? What's going on, Christian? Always a great time talking shop with my man, Christian. It's an honor to join. I'm ready to talk about a show that is near and dear to my heart. Let's freaking go.
Awesome. And I have two friends of the show. They're not really on social media all that much, but they are two of my coworkers. So we have Sarah. How are you doing today?
I'm so excited to finally voice my opinions on this show. I know you and Shelby have heard a lot about it, but now the world can hear.
Oh, my life. And of course, we have Shelby. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. I'm excited. Ready to talk about The Witcher. Just hanging out.
Yeah, I feel it. So, yeah, as I mentioned before, we're going to be talking about The Witcher Season 2. It's a little bit long overdue, but I mean, it's the most recent season that's out for this this interesting series that I feel like it's going to be a house divided on this one. But a little bit of housekeeping here for everyone out there listening. Before we begin today's show, you can listen to our podcast on platforms around the internet. And if you're a new or seasoned listener to the show, we would love to hear from you guys. Follow us on Instagram and follow us on Twitter at FilmOptix. That is Optix with an X. Or email us at filmoptix at gmail.com for any movie-related questions. So we're going to get just pretty much straight into it. I know Dibes doesn't have too much time on his hands tonight. So I guess we'll just start right into the bloodbath right after this short break.
Something has changed, Geralt. The world's acting strange these days. The North and South at war. Monsters roaming when they should be hibernating. Maybe it's the end of days. Are you winning the sacrifice? You right.
I've lived through 3 supposed end of days. It's all horseshit.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was a little snippet of the trailer from The Witcher provided by Netflix. And so we're just going to get into it really quick. But before we do, I'm going to read the synopsis for anyone out there who just doesn't really know what's going on. This series is created by Lauren Schmidt, stars Henry Cavill, Freya, Allan, and Anya. Chalotra. I'm probably butchering that last name, and I usually do, but it's okay. But the synopsis is as follows. Convinced Yennefer's life was lost at the Battle of Sodden, Geralt of Rivia brings Princess Cirilla to the safest place he knows, his childhood home of Kaer Morhen. While the continent's kings, elves, humans, and demons strive for supremacy outside its walls, he must protect the girl from a far more dangerous, mysterious power that she possesses inside. So very, very interesting stuff. So how we're going to just kind of tackle all this, we're going to go through our initial reactions of the season. And of course, oh, sorry. God, that was the wrong one. I always literally do that. Once you hear that button, that means we're going to go into spoilers. But to be honest, it's been out since what? December?
Yeah, early December.
Yeah. So we'll give our initial reactions, and then I'll still give the nice little, this is a more unstructured episode for me. It's been a long day for me, but we're going to start off with our initial reactions. I guess we'll start off with Sarah, the negative Nelly in the room.
Am I allowed to say lore whore on the show? Because I'm here as the designated lore whore to devil's advocate. Initially, honestly, the first episode, I was like, cool, I'm ready for this. I watched the first episode, and it was a great first episode. I hung on a little bit until Dandelion came on because he has my heart, and then it just started to go real steeply downhill for me. And like I had my until then, but my initial reaction started high, took a hard turn to not good.
I'm sorry. That was not the correct answer that we were looking here for on the show.
Look, you knew this going in.
We've literally talked about this like so much, and it's like we're finally here. But of course, I'm going to give my initial reactions last. So we'll go to Dibes, then we'll end with Shelby, and then I'll pretty much cap it off. So Dibes, what was your initial reaction? I know we're fantasy bros here, so it's like we were talking Wheel of Time on your podcast. And we liked it for the most part, the middle part at least. But give me your thoughts on your initial reaction on Witcher season 2.
Yeah, I loved it overall. I thought there was a lot of setup here in season 2. I have no doubt that season 3 is going to be absolutely bananas. It definitely left me really pumped for what's ahead. No doubt about it. I thought the overall quality was much better than season 1. The production, the fights, the CGI, the sets. I thought there was a stronger emotional connection between Geralt and Ciri, and it was better than I thought, which I'm really happy about. There's definitely some negatives that we're going to, get into here, but I thought for me, the positives outweighed the negatives this season. So for me, I enjoyed it. This is fine. This was a fine season.
You know what? You get the nice little applause there. That's the correct answer. We like to hear it here on the Film Op. Hey, I'm just calling it. No, I'm just joking. It's all good. Shelby, I feel like you're gonna lean towards more Team Sarah over here, but
I mean, I would say like overall, it's definitely, I feel like it's worth a watch. It's not like a wash of a season. I'm not a fan of it in the sense of I felt like they left a lot on the table. So there was a lot that they just missed out on, and I thought they I can't think of the word.
Representation.
Yeah. But Sarah's going to make some points, and I can just come off of what she's saying because we agree on a lot of the same things with the season and how it goes. But overall, I agree with Dibes with when he said in the production, the fighting, the CGI, I thought was phenomenal. So it was like the movie Eternals for me. Like it was worth the watch. It's not worth the watch. It's worth the watch because it's great acting. There's great things in it, but the story there was there's a lot left to be desired in the storyline, and how they did some things. And so I think the acting was phenomenal. I think everything about it, except for the actual story and how it was portrayed within season 2, was just eh.
All right, Shelby, I'll give you a nice little cheer.
Yay!
So rude.
So you're asking for it.
I mean, she's been raving this. This has been a long time coming. I get to publicly shame Sarah on the podcast. No, it's fine. But yeah, for my initial reactions, I will admit there are some issues, but I think the good outweighs the bad. If you are what Sarah was saying, more of like a lore whore, obviously you are going to care about where, you're going to be doing a lot of comparisons between the book and not only the book, the video games as well, because everyone still thinks that this is based off the video games when it's not for whatever reason. But overall, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed season 2 because of, the less of the time jumping. I didn't really mind it in season 1, but once season 2 came around, it was just nice to have a more linear path of what was going on. I will say the politics were a bit wonky for me. That's definitely one of my big negatives. I couldn't really understand what was going on. Like between the elves, I kind of knew what was happening, but there did seem to be a lot going on at once. And that's not something I appreciated. I loved, every scene with Freya, Allan, and Henry Cavill, playing their respective roles as Ciri and as Geralt. And of course we have, oh my gosh. I'm blanking on his name. Older Witcher, Vesemir. There we go. There we go. As I say, guys, it's been a long day of doing nothing today. So I'm very tired from that, you can see. But overall, it was it was a fun ride. It's just, I can see why people are upset. I didn't expect it to be this much of a backlash going in.
You also
overall,
thought Eternals was a fantastic movie, so I
because
mean,
that's because it is a fantastic movie.
I thought you were skipping on an actor name. I was like, that's okay, me too. And then I got really offended when you forgot a character name.
yeah,
Wow.
same
But I will
here.
preface
I was like, "There's no way he's thinking of Vesemir. He's probably he's trying to figure out how to pronounce Anya's name, but he can't figure it out."
I will
Nope.
preface this
It's
with I don't
Vesemir.
know any actor names. So besides Henry, of course.
Oh,
but-
besides Henry, yes.
Superman himself.
Super. Well, not anymore, but
as my guild used to say, my future husband. So
All right, let's just be honest. Once Superman, always Superman.
that
Like-
is true. That is very true. Yeah,
But
but
even the guy who played it for one movie, and I can never think of his name,
I forgot his name too.
because he's in Legends of Tomorrow.
Mhm.
But when I look at him, I don't see him as the guy that he played in Arrow and all that. I see him as Superman.
Yeah, there's always what's up?
Brandon
Yeah.
Ruth.
Yeah,
I liked him as an actor. I liked him as Superman. I thought he did a fantastic job.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think he's underrated.
Super underrated.
super underrated. Yeah, but
we're here
overall,
to talk about Henry.
Yeah, don't get me on Superman.
This has turned into the Henry Cavill hour.
I'm okay with that. Okay.
All things likes and dislikes about Henry's daily activities.
No dislikes, all likes. Done. Episode over.
But yeah, I mean, those are just pretty much my initial thoughts. I love this world so much. I'm interested to see where they're going forward, but there were some things I felt a bit convoluted. I was like, well, I don't really know where they're going with this. And I thought they were going to, I thought Ciri was, I'm just going to say it right now. I thought Ciri was actually going to become a Witcher. I know that's not how it usually happens, but this is a series adaptation, which literally just means,
I see that. I think I can get what you're coming down. Like, they're not following the books or the game itself. They're doing their own writing style,
Right.
so they might change some certain things. I don't like that, but I can see where you would see that to a certain degree.
Yeah, like it's pretty much just open season for adapting everything. And I believe I watched a YouTube video it was actually from Netflix about the showrunners, and they were torn on the big reveal. One of the bigger reveals of season 2 was that Ciri's father is still alive, and they were trying to figure out whether to wait to introduce him or to do it as early as they did in season 2. And they have mentioned that they were torn about everything, but they obviously ultimately decided to go
You
with.
forgot to make your little spoilers noise.
There you go. honestly, at this point, it's like it's been. I mean, we're going into February right now.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
So I do apologize, listeners. As I said,
the Super Bowl happens, and then you don't watch the Super Bowl for 2 months, and then get mad when someone spoils it.
Yeah, be like Ted Mosby from How I Met Your Mother when he tries to avoid the Super Bowl scores so everyone can watch on their DVR, which is a pretty solid plan if you didn't live in New York.
Yeah,
but yeah, those are pretty much just my initial thoughts. But I kind of wanted to pass it over to you guys to kind of, I guess, vent about your your likes and dislikes. I'll start with Shelby, then we'll go to Dives, and then we'll end with Sarah because I feel like she's going to be the more long-winded one.
Yeah,
Which isn't a bad thing, not a bad thing at all. I promise.
I'll try and keep it condensed.
You have some very valid points. For me, I think like the biggest things for me, I'll do 3 things. I think one, it feels like the show, especially with the first season going into the second season, Netflix was like, this is the next Game of Thrones. It really felt like that's what the show was going to become. And sure enough, they followed it up with season 2 being very similar to season 8 of Game of Thrones, where they just rushed everything. Like, I was completely fine in Game of Thrones with how they were wanting to end it, but it should have taken another 2 more seasons to get to that point. In season 2, it felt like there was a lot of story within season 2 that they just crammed in there, just because they're trying to get to the most notable part of the Witcher series, which is the Wild Hunt. And that's where the Witcher 3 came out, which was that's where I think the Witcher really, really took off for the community that it has. Not talking about its hardcore members who were with the series back when it first came out, back in the 90s is when the first game came out. But I'm talking about Witcher 3 won all the awards. It was like Call of Duty of video games. It topped everything for the full year. And I think even in the next year, it was a fantastic game. And I think that's what they're trying to market it on. But the thing is they're having to get to that point, and it just feels like they're rushing things to get there. So there's a lot of holes. There's a lot of things that really irritated me with the season. The acting, I think, was great. I mean, I love Henry Cavill. I think Anya's a really good actor. I think she portrays. I'm going to forget her name for some reason. Yennefer very well.
Yennefer, yeah.
And then Ciri is played very, very well. I think her becoming into that role of being very independent and very strong-willed, from being someone who was portrayed as someone who was somewhat weak in the first season. I do enjoy her growth as a character there. I loved how they introduced Vesemir, and they introduced Morhen, but it just felt like there's a lot of things so here's Morhen. All right, we're gonna have a couple things happen here, and then that's it. They don't really go into it. They don't really go into. I want to mispronounce his name. He's the elf, but the Philandro or Philavandrel.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
His story, I think, if you don't watch if you haven't played the game, or if you haven't watched the cartoon that they made, the animated movie, you don't see how Vesemir and Philavandrel actually had a pretty good relationship, and that he is a very integral part of the story that they just completely leave out. So I do feel like there's a lot left there that they could have just expanded on, even if they wanted to expand it from 8 episodes to even maybe 10, and just put in more of the elf stuff. And then the relationship, which I know which probably Sarah's going to harp on, just some of the relationships in the series feels like they were just testing stuff, and it wasn't thought out all the way, of how they portrayed things, because it just went against what the game and what the short stories portrayed, which I think is when you're creating a TV series from a book and from short stories, there's a lot of leeway to it, and the adaptations don't always come across as they should, and that's fine. But there's times where they're intricate parts of these characters that when you change these dynamics in the relationships, you change that character, and not in a good way. And so that's something that I want to complain about the show. But everything else I love.
Okay, I got you, man. Yeah, that honestly, that makes total sense, and that's a very sound argument. I've seen other people on Reddit who are not so kind with their responses, but I mean, it's totally fine. Not everyone's gonna like everything. I mean, I was very excited for it, but of course, I'll give my spiel last. But we'll move on to Dibes, and then fire away.
Yeah, starting with negatives, just to kind of piggyback off of what Shelby was talking about. I was hoping that season 2 would be a little bit longer, since season 1 was so successful. But they stuck with the 8 episode season, man. That's got to be the major complaint of this show. The Witcher has so much excellent source material that having filler episodes in an 8 episode season just honestly feels like a backslap to the face, man. I feel like this show, for me, started 10 out of 10, especially episode 1, which I loved. They truly, went all in about what makes a monster. That was a lot of fun for me. But as it progressed, it got, it dragged a little bit. First half of season 2 was a lot better than the second half of season 2. No question about it. I thought Yen having no powers for this season felt a little weird to me. You didn't really see any of Yen's transformation this season. The lack of relationship between Triss and Geralt was also weird for someone who loves those two together. I like Triss's character a lot, but like Philip or Shelby said, like just kind of her whole story just kind of got cut, which it makes sense because you only have 8 episodes. You're trying to build the family of Yen and Ciri and Geralt moving forward into season 3. It still pisses me off a little bit. So, I thought it was just, even the music, season 1 to season 2, I thought season 2 dropped the ball a little bit. Season 1 of The Witcher is an underrated soundtrack. It is a really great score. And when a bard sings better songs in the Wheel of Time than The Witcher, something is clearly wrong, because The Witcher is like here, and the Wheel of Time, at least for me, is definitely down a notch. But for positives, I thought Henry Cavill just absolutely knocked it out of the park. Still one of my favorite actors alive, period. Geralt's chemistry with Ciri was the standout of season 2. I really thought like he was going to be a little bit more like unreasonably protective over Ciri, but it turned out he was both protective and kind of like, mature enough to kind of let Ciri grow, give her that room for growth, which I really, truly appreciated. Those two on screen together was pure fire, man. That's going to get better and better and better into season 3. I loved how Yen, evolved into a more sympathetic character this season. She wasn't stone cold, like dry in season 1, but I liked her here in season 2 a lot more than season 1. Even Geralt, I thought Henry Cavill showed a lot more range this season for me. And I thought the writers overall did a very good job, a better job of humanizing just the entire cast in a great way. In a sense, like all 3 of those characters had much more complex personalities. They had a better range of just situational emotions that, definitely kept me engaged. Positives, seeing a live action Leshen on this small screen was so freaking great, man. I just got off out of my couch and my jaw was literally dropped on that scene. One of my favorite scenes. Geralt's battle with the Chernobog was awesome, man. When you just see him take the position, just slice his stomach open, so freaking badass. It literally made me feel like I was playing the games again. Geralt cutting that basilisk's mouth in half in episode 8 was so freaking cool. But I think the biggest overall negative I have here was Vesemir. Vesemir did not work for me whatsoever. Heading into this season, that was like literally the thing I was most excited about, to really kind of deep dive into Vesemir's character. I thought the writing was really bad. There was just almost no warmth, no wisdom for this character, other than maybe like the first couple of scenes. I just thought he was written as just a much older Witcher rather than the father figure he was supposed to be in the show. You're kind of constantly told he's this father figure, but you never see it. It never translates to the screen. It feels like Geralt was there supporting him and helping him through his shit rather than the other way around. It just did not work for me. That was not adapted well. I just thought the character was pretty mediocre. It just did not connect with me whatsoever. So there's some positives, there's some negatives. There's a big negative with Vesemir. Does that mean I'm going to like tune off when season 3 starts? Absolutely not. I have, again, a very close connection with this show. So those are some of my kind of quick thoughts.
Okay. Hey, honestly, dude, you guys are pretty much hitting the nail on the head. I'll save my thoughts for last. I saw Sarah over there saying, "Oh my God, thank you." So anyway, I'll pass over to Sarah so she can give her 2 cents.
Oh, it's like $100 more than, it's way more than 2 cents, but I'll try. I'll try and touch a couple points. So just touching on the pacing of season 1 versus season 2, I did also appreciate that they stopped the timeline switching, because that was appropriate for season 1. I thought it was a great setup for season 2. But if you look at the pacing, they took that whole season to put these timelines together, and then you go into season 2, and regardless of whether or not you're a fan of the books or the video games, which I'll say right now, I'm more of a fan of the video games than the books. But regardless, it, as you guys have said, it felt rushed. As Shelby said, it was very rushed. Like, okay, we took all this time in season 1 setting these characters up, and season 2, it's like, okay, let's just get through. Let's just get to the wild hunt. which again, going back to the spoiler of what Christian had said, bringing up Amir being her father and still, being alive. That, I mean, I was shocked that they revealed that so early on. It looks like they're just trying to push this wild hunt while they're still trying to do this elf war plotline, and it just like you said, it's a lot, and even it's like they know that the fans are watching, so they expect you to keep up because you know what's happening, but also they're changing it, which is also offending the fans, so it's very confusing. And that's just kind of my thoughts on like the timeline and the plot and everything. Getting into the relationships of the characters, I do agree. Ciri, Geralt, they've held very true to that relationship, which is good, because that's really the basis of this entire plot line is Ciri's growth, their relationship, why she's important, and why it's important for Geralt to be so protective over her. One of the things that I did feel again that they kind of rushed was her time at Kaer Morhen. Especially being a big fan. I've got a Wild Hunt poster above me as we speak. In the games, watching her train, becoming this young woman, beyond the age that she is in this show, and she goes off on her own and does Witcher stuff, not actually being a Witcher, because traditionally women cannot be Witchers, and it's not that it's a law, it's just that women had never survived, so they just stopped trying. I'll get to that a little bit again later, but she goes off and becomes this monster hunter and this faux Witcher, and she develops so much more before this wild hunt even gets to an end, and it's just again very rushed. But I did think that Henry and Ciri's actress, again, I'm terrible with the
Freya
actress
Allan.
name, Freya. I did think that they did really steal the entire season, except for Dandelion, because I love him. The biggest gripe with the relationships that I had was Ciri and Yennefer, because Yennefer was supposed to be this motherly figure, and we're starting out with her sacrificing Ciri to get her magic back, which again is something that even that I kind of played along with. That's not canon, but it's like, okay, it's a little weird, but I'm open to changes. I understand the fact that games and books cannot directly translate to a watchable series. I understand that. So there were some things, even in like episode 1. Episode 1 was a short story in the book. They changed it a little bit. Little fun fact. Geralt had known that Nivellen had raped the priestess before he helped him in the books, but in the show they did it to where afterwards, and I understand that. I thought that was a great change. I thought that was making you like Geralt being this hero rather than, oh, he knows this person did wrong and still was on his side. I thought that was a positive change. But as far as like the magic going away from Yen, I was like, okay, that's kind of weird, but we'll see where it goes. But then she sacrifices Ciri, and that's not good. That's not good. The whole dynamic between the three was supposed to be like, Geralt can't have kids, Yennefer can't have kids, Ciri is their like adoptive child, and they're supposed to. That relationship really hurt my heart. And I don't know how they're going to repair it. I'm not going to say I'm not going to watch season 3. I hope they fix it, but that was a tough one. Touching a little bit back on Vesemir, like Christian said, he saw me going, yes, thank you. Vesemir is supposed to be this fatherly figure, and all the Witchers are supposed to be this brotherhood, and I felt like they portrayed it so poorly. Like Geralt's sitting there fighting, or actually Geralt's sitting there for 15 minutes staring at Ciri while she fights her, while she fights the evil thing inside her. Well, it takes like 10 Witchers to kill these two things, and they made him look like just weak, and like Geralt's the only strong Witcher. I thought that was terrible. They killed Escaloff.
What?
That hurt my heart. And they made Eskel look like this huge douchebag. Like they made him look like just a terrible person. And I'm like, that's not the Eskel I know. And it just like it just hurts a fan's heart to see them butcher these characters so much. And that's really, I guess, where the resentment comes from is they're making these characters out of character. Plotline, okay, I understand you got to change it, but don't hit us where it hurts, with these characters we've grown to love over, like you said, when the first game came out, the 1990s, 30 years, man, don't hurt me after 30 years of loving these characters. And Vesemir, willing to sacrifice Ciri with injecting her with the Witcher poison, he would never do that.
No.
He would never do that. And also that's a huge plot hole, because if Ciri is the key to making more Witchers, why would you risk sacrificing her? Tell me I'm wrong. You're like, let's that's a huge plot hole. Like your blood is the key to producing more Witchers, but let's risk your life. Like, so
I thought it would have been pretty interesting, but I can see why people were not for that whatsoever. It's just, I was like, oh yeah, like she'll be able to, I mean, not that she can't fend, not that Ciri can't fend for herself, but in a way, obviously she still is not in control of her powers whatsoever. And then we get,
but I think that's like the whole point, right? Like with Ciri, she doesn't require to become the Witcher, she doesn't require to become a Witcher to be able to be as strong as the Witchers.
And that's how it is in the games. Like she's badass in her own right.
In her own right, because of who she is. Like, and like she's like she's the only. Like what do they call her? She's
the Elder Blood.
Elder Blood.
Elder Blood.
She's
Yeah.
the only Elder left at this point, because and it's just from her line. Just so happens to carry it, and no one's had it in centuries. So I mean, I think that part was really like, it just catches you off guard, like, what the heck, Vesemir? That's not Vesemir.
It's
the
no
whole mutagen story with Vesemir just did not work.
No,
I didn't like it whatsoever.
But I just want to say, for all the people who don't know the lore out there, the Witchers aren't that weak. They should have been able to take them down. They're brothers. And also they and this is really nitpicky. This is really getting nitpicky. But and that first party scene, listen, if you played the games, Geralt can party. So like he wasn't this like stingy, like, oh, she shouldn't be watching this, anyway, that's being really nitpicky. But that's kind of my feelings on like the Kaer Morhen crew, Vesemir, the Witcher, Eskel. I'm so sad they killed off Eskel.
They kind of made it feel like Kaer Morhen was just kind of like a frat house, and like these guys were completely wasted all the time when they're there, and like they couldn't do anything, and then they're all douchebags and only care about themselves. They don't really care about each other, and that's just a misrepresentation of the characters.
But let's talk about the greatest re-entry into the show with Dandelion. But I will say, if there's any fans of Hamilton, you will note the relationship between his song and Burn in the Hamilton soundtrack. I noticed that right away. But he was wonderful. He's always wonderful. I think he portrays Dandelion. Sorry, Yesikir. I don't even know how they say it in the show, but that's Dandelion. I keep saying Dandelion, but it's Yesikir.
That's Tormund, right? That's Tormund. Is that Tormund from the guy during the beginning? Is that what we're talking about?
No, the Bard.
The Bard.
Oh, I'm sorry, my gosh,
Burn,
my
Butcher,
bad.
Burn.
Burn, Butcher,
his love song.
Throw a coin for the Witcher.
Yeah, he's Dandelion in the
that's right,
in the games.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think he had enough screen time though? Like, what's your?
I think he did, because let's be fair, he's there for comedic relief, and I think Yen wasn't doing anything all this season. She was useless with her. I didn't understand what she was doing, why she was there, but then they're like, let's put her with Dandelion so that the storyline's still interesting, because she was just kind of like moving. And on that note, the travel time in the show was terrible, because when Ciri and Yennefer made it to that obelisk, and the town like way off yonder noticed that they were there. They were there in about 2 seconds. I'm like, what? Those are really fast horses.
My issue is that they're setting up for, this major betrayal between those two, and it's just not going to be emotional enough in season 3. I think they're setting up him to kind of just betray them. He's obviously he's really the only one who knows what Ciri looks like. He's the end to get Ciri, and I think I like the character a lot. Just like Vesemir, just they weren't built up enough and they weren't fleshed out enough as they should. And that's going back to my major negative of the show was it just needed more than 8 freaking episodes to really build those connections.
Or just not getting to that point in this season, and like we haven't even touched on the elves. Like does anyone actually even know what was happening with that besides
I don't.
like,
I do not know.
I'll be completely honest. I had no idea that the two were even together. That she was pregnant with what's his name's child.
It made it sound. They made it seem like they were like brother and sister or like really good friends. I didn't know that they were.
It just seemed like she became queen, so he had to step down to a certain degree because she was now the leader, where he was the leader. But then now all of a sudden they're having a kid together. I was like, whoa, when did they even get together here? Like,
it really was, like you said, like Game of Thrones, or like, let's throw some politics in here with some this and this and this and cram it all together in 8 episodes. And that's why I like hearing. I actually was really interested of hearing for people who aren't, fans of the story or the games, their opinions on it, because even to me, where I knew what was going on for the most part because they changed so much, how that translated to somebody and how they kept up with everything that was going on.
I feel like that was all set up. It's all going back to Ciri for season 3. She's the outer blood. She's she's the prophecy with. She's gonna save the elves.
I will throw in a couple little fun things here. If you are a fan of the show, I'm sure you noticed Philippa, the owl. As soon as the owl was there, I'm like, I know who that is. So I am really excited to see her role, like what they do with her in the 3rd season, because again, now we're off canon, now we're off story, so anything could happen. We'll see what she does. But she is a really cool character. Look out for Philippa. And then I do want to talk about the most emotional death.
Go ahead.
Besides Eskel, was Roach.
R.I.P.
Oh, that was brutal.
He got carved up like
Atreyu.
He got carved up like a Thanksgiving turkey. I was like, woo.
But fun fact, Geralt names all his horses Roach. So that is not the first, and it won't be the last Roach.
Oh yeah, for sure. And yeah, it's like a running thing. And I'm like, okay, I knew he wasn't gone but not forgotten type thing. But R.I.P. to Roach, 100%. But yeah, I do agree with you guys talking about like with the elves. The only interesting part I really thought was there because of all those poor elven babies. She went like whoosh, and she was like, them kids. Out of nowhere, just like, you know what? My baby died. No one can have a baby right now. Like it's if I can't have it, nobody can. And I mean, you kind of see, I kind of understand where the elves are coming from, but it is weird to see the elves in a more fugitive position. Usually within high fantasy, they are like, not like, I guess you could say the pinnacle, or they are more high society. We see it in Lord of the Rings. We've seen it in the Wheel of Time, things of that nature, that they are a more elevated being in a sense, like above everyone else. So it was really interesting to see elves suffer for once, I guess you could say. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But you guys have been touching on some really good points. Like I said, I enjoy the season, but I do, as I've had time to think about it, and as Sarah has ranted about it, it does make sense as to I definitely feel like the season was rushed 100%. because like Shelby had said, it seems like they just want to get to the Wild Hunt. And I mean, and that's fine, but like I feel like there needs to be a proper build up of like events and character growth in order to get there. Of course we had the lady in the witch house, the Baba Yaga, the beach, you know, all that because I think that's what she's based off of. I forgot, it was like the not the hairless mother, what was her name? I can't remember. Like in the actual show, they gave her an actual name because she feeds off the evil of other. Yeah, but
I just love how she's called the same thing that John Wick's called, Baba
Yaga. Yeah, yeah, Baba Yaga, the boogeyman.
I was really confused. I don't know if any of you could tell me this. I don't understand why Yen had to slit her wrists, because they were like, oh, she needs a host. But how did she take a hold of Ciri when, like, I don't understand that whole, how that even works. Like, she took a hold of Ciri, like, no problem. She's like, haha, I'm free. Let's go get her. But then, like, in order to leave Ciri, she needed a host, but Yen didn't actually die. Like, I didn't understand that at all.
Yeah, so when Yen takes in the witch, it doesn't seem like it possesses Yennefer the same way that it possesses Ciri.
Which makes sense because if I'm not mistaken, Baba Yaga, is she not Elder Blood too? Like she's part of like the Wild Hunt.
The Wild Hunt, yeah, that's
people,
right. Yeah.
Like that race of people. She was such a horrible person over there that they banished her to this realm. And so, if I'm not mistaken, that's like and then they call her a demon because no one knows what it's really about. I don't know.
I thought the Wild Hunt wanted Ciri because she has they think she, you know, has the blood to be able to travel, right?
They want Ciri. Like Ciri is of the same race, right?
Right.
Baba
she
Yaga
can travel across worlds.
And she can portal. She doesn't know that yet. I think she found that out in episode 8.
Yeah, so yeah, when they were trying to,
where she like
when she was with Yen.
Yeah.
Well,
not just with Yen. Like at the end of the entire series, when she's like when they're fighting, you see the Wild Hunt.
Oh, like portal to another realm, not just portal. Yeah.
And they're stuck there. That's right. Like the Wild Hunt is stuck in that realm, and they need Ciri to be able to, you know, travel across worlds again. That's what I thought.
If I'm not mistaken from the game, that's like that in The Witcher 3, like your main villain there outside of Ciri's dad is the Wild Hunt, and the guy who is the head of Wild Hunt is wanting Ciri because of that. Yeah.
Yeah, Eridan. I hope they really give us some of that, like, you know, Geralt and Eridan in season 3. That they really need to build that up. I hope that's where we're headed.
You know what my biggest question on this, and I've tried to Google it and I've tried to look it up, but like Henry is like, the reason he's such a good Geralt is because he is such a big fan. Like, and to be fair, honestly, when they first cast Henry, I was against it. I love him, but I was like, you do not look like Geralt. Like you're young, your skin is nice, you know, like you're not like, you know, roughed up and beaten by demons. But like I was like, but he won me over because he played Geralt so well because he is such a big fan. And I lay awake at night and think what he thought about
really
what he thought about the season, because it's so off.
Yeah.
It's so off. And
I think, didn't he apologize?
No, well, like he did comment saying that, you know, he wishes he did comment saying that he hopes that the story gets back on track in season 3. But it's kind of hard to do that because, you know, they've already made they already changed a lot. Or maybe they're trying, I don't really, like I said, with adaptations, it's always different because they may try to get, you know, you have like the original way, like the source material, and then you have the adaptation way. And they're both meeting at the same end goal, but they both take different ways to get there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, we see it all the time with like Marvel and whatnot, especially like with Civil War and, you know, all these different adaptations, especially with Spider-Man No Way Home. When Peter kind of, his whole identity is revealed, and it can't, with Peter's identity in the comics, he actually confronts Mephisto instead of Doctor Strange, but it's still the same end goal because, he gets it essentially reset. Nobody knows that he's Spider-Man. And then Mary Jane dies in the comics. Spoilers, whatever.
Yeah.
That's how they bring in Gwen Stacy, though.
Yeah. So it's.
I mean, the comic books, they did a really good job, I think, in the comics for Spider-Man, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
I
was
agree.
just using it as an example. Yeah.
I agree with Sarah. Henry did I wasn't happy that he got the role, but then after watching it, I was like, okay, you restored my faith.
He earned the role.
You were made for this, and it makes me hopeful for the new Batman that comes out with Robert Pattinson.
Oh, I've been hopeful for that since.
Well, the thing was everyone who heard when I heard that it was Robert Pattinson as Batman, I'm gonna be honest, I was just like, really?
Okay, I will say this because Matt Reeves, the director of the new Batman, said this. He said everyone who knew, who was commenting on Edward or on Robert Pattinson being Batman only followed his career pre-Twilight, but not post-Twilight. Everyone who's excited for it has followed Robert Pattinson's career post-Twilight. Everyone else is like, oh, that dude from the Twilight movies? It's like, yeah. And it's like,
I always liked him as an actor. I think he's a great actor. I just didn't think he fit the role in the sense of he's not a bulky person. He's not Ben Affleck. Let's be honest. Ben Affleck.
I didn't really like Ben Affleck.
You might not like him as an actor, but his face and his body, because he's tall.
He was
built.
That.
he was thick. Let's be honest. That boy was
he was
thick.
a thick boy. He was a thick boy.
But that's what Batman is. He's a thick man. So he's a thick man that they have portrayed with skinny dudes.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
The entirety of Batman series have been all skinny dudes.
Michael Keaton's not exactly thick.
Everyone's
Christian
fit
Bale,
skinny.
to be honest.
Ben Affleck was the first thick dude who fit the actual persona of what Batman in the comic books would have looked like. He was tall, he was buff. The other ones were
we get it. Yeah,
Kevin Conroy's Batman was thick.
Yeah, he was. But since him, they went on this path of hey, let's get short people and some people that were so skinny. I think the average height of Batman from the after the original Batman guy was 5'11".
We somehow jumped.
Just throwing that out there. I know. I'm sorry.
You're totally
on the topic
good.
of casting, though, I'm gonna throw this little complaint in. Yen's actress is a beautiful woman, but she is not magically beautiful.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but she literally undergoes a magical transformation to be this beautiful woman. And again, she's not an unattractive person, but I don't find her wow, magic made you that beautiful. I thought the casting was a little off.
Who would have been a better Yennefer?
I don't know, but
who's magically attractive?
Even if I know in my head who the actress is, I don't know their names. But I don't know. I felt it was there's a lot of there's a lot of kind of casting issues I had. I did like that they made Triss's hair orange in this.
Yeah, that was great.
See, I totally forgot that her hair was brown in season 1. And I think Sarah brought it up to me at work, and I was like, what are you talking about? No, her hair was red in season 1, and she showed me a picture. I was like, oh.
I didn't pick up on that.
I will say with Triss, I do also love Triss and Geralt. The one of the things I don't disagree with was not throwing the love triangle in with everything else they were trying to do.
I liked the love triangle between Triss and Yennefer.
Trust me, playing the games, that's part of the replay value.
Exactly.
Part of the replay value, so you can see.
Who am I going to go with this time?
But to adapt to a TV show, they would have had to slow it down, almost too much. Like,
Mhm.
but it went way too fast in general, but it went way too fast to then let's throw in a love triangle. Like, whoa, we haven't even they don't have any character development anywhere. So that is one thing that I didn't hate. That like maybe
They could have done it successfully though.
they could have done a lot of things successfully, but they didn't.
They set it up perfectly for the love triangle because, like, think about it this way: if Yennefer does not come back this entire season and doesn't reunite with Ciri and Geralt, that sets up the entirety of that time that she was gone, right? As Geralt moves on because he hasn't been with her for quite some time. That's where their relationship can actually blossom to a certain degree, but then Yennefer comes back and that's when it's like, oh, and that would have built a lot of drama in season 3 that I felt like that could have been played off of a lot better, but they just kind of were like, no, they're not even going to be interested in each other really. They're just going to look at each other.
That's not a bad point because they didn't have to even bring it up, but they did for a minute, and they were like,
Yeah.
when they were like, "Oh no, not that wasn't a good time."
Mhm.
So you may be onto something there. They may be planning to introduce that triangle at a later time, because otherwise, what would be the point of them being, having their little conversation of,
Yeah.
stay with me or whatever, So you may be onto something about there.
Yeah. So okay. So the other small little thing, since we're talking about hair follicles right now, Ciri finally has her eyebrows back. I was very excited because it's just Ciri in season 1. I was like, what? I'm like, okay, like I know who Freya Allan is, and I was like, why is her? Like I'm like, there's no way that. I mean, it. I don't know if that's her actual like.
Film optics hitting the hard hitting topics like eyebrows.
Eyebrows, like honestly, I would have never have thought that was going to be brought up. Like, I'm not prepared to talk about Freya Allan's eyebrows being non-existent in season 1, and then season 2, they're there.
No, think about it though. Okay, go back and look at Ciri in season 1. It looks like she has blonde eyebrows. It doesn't look like she has any eyebrows at all. And
She's
it's
also
just,
supposed to be like 8 years old in season 1, and then like maybe 10 years old in season 2.
but it looks like this eyebrowless woman running through a field.
The only drawback I have with The Witcher is that Ciri is literally a child, and how she is treated as a child is in the game later, like with her father,
Mhm.
like with his plot. It's very disgusting and revolting.
Yeah.
Like it's very like what I question the sanity of the writer.
Do you think Netflix is going to stay on that motive?
What, that she's still a child, or do you think they?
Amir wants his daughter back so he can marry her.
Oh, I feel like I knew part of that,
Yeah.
but I didn't.
But so I'm wondering if they'll stick with that.
That's his whole plan of getting her back.
But
Mhm.
maybe that's why they aged her up, because you see this a lot in a lot of fiction, especially with Game of Thrones. Like every single person, like Jon Snow, Robb Stark, Sansa, Arya, Bran, Rickon, they're all like, I'm pretty sure Robb Stark and Jon Snow are like 14 when the books start. Daenerys Targaryen's like 13, 14 when the books start. Obviously, they aged them up. So it's like that happens a lot.
Well, no, they didn't. That's the thing. They didn't age them up. They didn't tell you their age. That was how they got around it, is they just never told you their age. And unless you read the books, and no one really read the books that were fans of Game of Thrones. Like, let's be honest. Like, I've read the first 4 books.
I did.
But nobody who was like a huge fan of the show was like, let me go read them books. Because the books, like, I'll be honest with you, they were okay writing. They
Oh
weren't
my
anything
God.
phenomenal. But the show was good too. But I mean, like, it just, like, they were like the season one and season 1 of Game of Thrones, the book and the actual like TV series, identical for word,
Oh
almost
no,
identical,
absolutely. It's
which was
one of the
crazy.
best. Yeah. It was amazing.
So I mean, and they don't really show you their ages, and you don't really know until you find out, and then it kind of like just turns your stomach a little bit. Like all those nude scenes and stuff was she's technically 13. Ooh, ooh.
Oh
Yeah.
And the thing is they're not going to say that, because if they say that,
well, no, they're not going to say. I'm just saying when it comes to adaptations, usually when they do casting, that person they obviously cast someone older, but they also try to age them up a little bit, like because I think they, from what I remember, they do mention their ages at some points during season 1 of Game of Thrones, but it wasn't as young. Like Rickon's like, oh my gosh,
he was like 2 years old.
Yeah, 2-3 years old in the books. So, but yeah, like obviously they age him up a little bit. Like my point was that they just that's what they do, and
I mean, it's just like it's funny that like these books and adaptations, people don't ever point out to like the
Hey.
darkness.
Little Mermaid. 16.
Little Mermaid.
That is
16?
very
The thing about the age up in this series though is that like she is supposed to be a child, and you age her up, but you don't age up the experience in between.
Right.
It's like she's supposed to be being which okay, Geralt doesn't know what to do with a kid, right? All he knows what to do with this kid is train it, right? Let's train it like a witcher, treat it like any of the witcher, regardless whether she is a witcher or not. Is just, this is what you do, you go train. And that is again one of the things that kind of made me upset, is they made Ciri a little weak, and she's really like this badass little kid, and like they kind of get her there, like with the montage of her on the training equipment. But wow, she did 1 day of training equipment. Cool. Like they don't really show how she develops before. Wow, now she has to face the wild hunt and her father, and like all these things coming at her. Where's the development of her powers? There, like I understand it's kind of coming in stride, but the power isn't the only thing that made her badass. It was the training that Kaer Morhen and all the Witchers. That's the other thing too, is she was a part of Kaer Morhen. She wasn't this like pesky little kid that they portray her to be, like, oh, we're just gonna badger this small child. Like she's a part of the family, and they really didn't portray her time at Kaer Morhen in the way that I felt like it needed to be portrayed.
How many seasons do you think this is gonna go?
See, and I was actually going to ask you that, Dives, because as we've seen with Wheel of Time, with the children there, clearly they're not kids, but they're in their like 20s, something like that, in between like 18-20 years old. So Freya Allan now is 20 years old in real life. So I want to know, number
Are
one.
you serious?
Yeah, Freya Allan's 21.
14.
No. And Anya,
I thought it was weird that her and Henry would like cut eyes at each other. Like, I don't know. I just felt like it was a lot. I was like, man, she's like 14 years old, and he's like, I understand like he's like a big brother to her.
Yeah.
But like, because I respect Henry very much. Like, I think he's a fantastic human being in life. With a lot of the things that he does. But I was just like, man, that's kind of weird. Now she's 20. It makes me even feel like,
yeah, he's 38 in real life. Henry Cavill's 38, but Anya, who plays Yennefer, she's 25 in real life. So, and going back to your point, Dives, I'm getting there, I promise. It's just, I'm trying to figure out how long, like you said, how long is this going to go? Are they going to go past Wild Hunt? And like, how much time how much of a time jump is it going to be between season 2, season 3? And also to Sarah's point, I do feel like we saw Ciri at least trying to train on her own, trying to be more independent. Obviously wants to be more like Geralt because that is her father figure. I'm just interested to see what's going to happen because, like, obviously she's portrayed as a little girl, but Freya Allan is 20 years old, and it's like clearly she's not getting any younger. So it's like what is going to be the time jump between the sub?
Because they threw her into the peril without preparing her.
Yeah, because I mean, she was like, I think 18 when season 1 came out.
The good news is that like the way this season ended, you're gonna get a lot of Geralt, Yen, and Ciri moving forward. Like there's not gonna be a lot of like thing. There's probably going to be it's going to be the hunt for Ciri in season 3. But at least the way they set it up, you're going to see a lot of screen time between those 3 and building up Ciri as a character. Like I can't, as a Star Wars nut, like I can't help but think and compare her to Ahsoka. Like Ahsoka, how many years did you have of Ahsoka Tano developing? Being this like little brat and her becoming who she is now, saying no to the Jedi Council and being that independent, wanting nothing to do with the Jedi, but kind of, and her all those amazing relationships she had with Captain Rex and Anakin, all that kind of stuff. That's kind of where I see this, and I don't know how. That's why I asked how many seasons. Like, how much time do we realistically expect Ciri to have to really build her up as this amazing, independent, badass character?
Well, and that's a shame, is that they rushed into this plot line so quickly that it's like they could have taken that time to do that, but now it's like, nope, we're here, we're doing things. Like,
the thing is, I think they realized that they messed up this last season, and I think they can change it. And like one of the things they could do is make the Wild Hunt like still a futuristic thing in season 3. Make it where in season 3 it's very much about the relationships. It's very much like about building these characters up and having Ciri grow into herself to these powers, and towards the end is like the start of the Wild Hunt. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of season 3, that's when the Wild Hunt comes into play, and this whole season's just the build up into the Wild Hunt. In season 4, you're going into it and having her go in, and she's like doing the Wild Hunt. Okay, that's great. After the Wild Hunt, then you can do another season or 2 of just kind of like what you want to do with Ciri, and maybe Geralt dies, right? Like he ends up dying in like season 4 or 5, or something like that, or do something like kind of like to end the series as a whole. But like, there's a lot of things I think they can do, and I think if they wanted to get 6-7 seasons out, they can. It's just, are they willing to slow things down, or is it okay? This is too much of a time constraint for the actors, because 8 seasons or 8 episodes isn't a whole lot. It's like shooting what, 4 movies compared to like a long TV series, which is like 22 episodes, which usually like an hour an episode. Like, so they can do a lot and kind of stretch it out as long as it's not that much of a time constraint to the actors. Because like Henry Cavill, I don't know so much about Freya or Anya, how big they are on their side projects compared to The Witcher. I think both of them really, like The Witcher kind of set them up. But Henry was a massive actor beforehand. So like if he wants to do something different, like obviously he's not going to be in the future DC stuff because they're going to recast Superman, but which will alleviate him from having to do any contractual stuff and allow them to do more with The Witcher. But that's does he want to stay with The Witcher? Does he want to invest the time? And like that's where you're going to start running into issues, not on your content for sure. I think the content's there. You just have to be able to navigate it.
I think it is a shame too, because they had such a good, they had all the potential in the world to fill episodes. And I know that sounds like something you had said, I like don't fill the episodes, but the whole world of The Witcher, the world building is monsters, right? The first season had like every episode was a new monster, a new fighting, and so they had all this time to, I guess filler episodes is a bad term for it, because it's more just development and world building, and like they had so much potential to, I mean, it's like milk this cash cow, man. I'm sorry, but like I feel like they're shooting themselves in the foot by rushing the storyline, because they could keep this going for a long time if they didn't feel the need to rush through the lore, or the lack of, but like they have all this room for world building, because it is a wonderful world. It's such a cool, the dimensions, colliding. They have so much to work with, and why they chose to rush through it, it's disappointing.
Yeah, I honestly couldn't tell you what they do, because this is Netflix that we're talking about, and unfortunately there's a lot of times where a lot of good shows get canceled, or the show goes on and they lose like a major character, like especially the Bridgerton. They are going to be doing season 2, but they are losing a major casting there. So it's kind of like what is Netflix looking for, and is this the kind of show that's going to end up being canceled like the rest? I mean, obviously Daredevil was a little bit different because obviously Disney started to with Disney Plus, and they kind of wanted to get those streaming rights back at some point, as well as with like the other like Defenders, whatnot, with like Iron Fist and stuff. But I mean, this kind of is, I mean, and I always hate comparing. It's like now since Game of Thrones has like came and went, it's like that literally is, I mean, obviously like Lord of the Rings is like the ultimate like staple for like high fantasy. But for our day and age, since J.R.R. Tolkien's no longer with us, George R. R. Martin's here, it's more, Game of Thrones is the staple. And I wonder, like, I just don't like comparing The Witcher to Game of Thrones because, yeah, Game of Thrones is a fantasy world, but through majority of the journey, it's kind of mirrors our world where, magic is a myth and magic isn't really there. So, but like, obviously this is more of the Polish like folklore, and is Polish folklore? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was short stories from Poland. The guy was like the writer and everybody was from Poland.
Right. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. So sorry, everyone, but yeah, it's this is more of like a different high fantasy. But I hate comparing it to Game of Thrones, but you really can't help but to, because that is like that's the big staple. That's the goal. So I really don't know what they're going to do with this series.
Can I ask you something, Christian? What's your thoughts, like real quick, like which show has more potential, The Wheel of Time or The Witcher?
Don't make me choose.
Because they're both in the same realm.
As of right now, I mean, I feel like The Witcher has like a little bit more of a renown because season 1 was so good. Well,
they both have great source material.
They do. It's, I mean, the book readers are unfortunately, like, there's just a lot of book readers out there. They're always going to be disappointed. I mean, oh man. I see, like, I want to say Wheel of Time because like with Amazon, they are releasing those weekly. With Witcher, like when season 3 comes out, people are going to be talking about it for a month, and then that's it, unless they do something super crazy with it, like they have with like Arcane. But as of right now, trajectory wise, I would probably say The Wheel of Time.
That's where I'm going, man. You know what? Like, as much as I love Henry Cavill, like, I trust Rosamund Pike is going to just knock this show out of the ballpark moving forward, right over Henry Cavill. And I hate,
but it really just depends. I mean, it's anyone's game. It's. I mean, I would probably give the edge to Wheel of Time just because it is starting out, and
I don't know, man. I watched Wheel of Time. I haven't finished it. I've watched like up to a certain point, but I'm like, this isn't something that I'm enjoying all too much.
It took me a while.
You have to commit.
Yeah.
Like the acting is just not there for me.
Like I like, for like, and Dives knows this for me, like the first like 3 episodes I was not into Wheel of Time as much, but then like towards like 4 through like 6,
like 4, 5, 6 were really strong.
Yeah, and then the season finale wasn't like,
it was so bad.
So
like the only character that I really liked in the entirety of Wheel of Time was Rosamund Pike's person. That guy was amazing as an actor, and like I was just like he's portraying this as perfectly as possible. Everyone else, I was just like, eh.
I mean, like, and of course, it is a new show. It's even with season 1 done, I feel like it definitely still needs to find its footing. It happens with a lot of TV shows. Because I mean, Game of Thrones didn't start getting popular until the penultimate episode of season 2.
Didn't both of these 2 seasons, like Wheel of Time, this season 1 and this season, get really hit hard by COVID?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, I mean a lot of series has, but it's
Can we all at least agree that for all like I agree that the CGI and the fights and the Leshy were all beautiful. Can we
very.
apply that to their irises instead of fake contacts in the next season, please? Oh my god, it was so distracting.
I appreciated, Geralt using his powers a lot more. Like there were some really badass kills, like where he uses like his Quen spell, and then like the guy like pops up in the air, and Geralt like holds up his sword, and the guy's face literally falls on his sword. There were some pretty badass moments.
I do like that they incorporated his magic into it, and keeping up with like the vials. Like again, there's so much world building that they have potential to expand on and explain. But so I do appreciate that. Again, what I don't appreciate is why he's had that. God, now I can't remember the spell. the barrier spell.
The
Quen.
Yeah, Quen.
And he sat there for like 15 minutes at the end, just going, Siri, no, Siri, hey, are you Siri? For like 15 minutes. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Your brothers are getting slaughtered.
And then Dandelion's out here with a rock, like running around the rock. I'm like, what is this scene? I held out until that scene, and I watched the whole thing, but I said, you should have seen the look on my face during that last scene, just like,
you know when you're a degenerate Witcher fan, when you like completely geek out when you see Geralt like take a potion, like I'm
and you
like,
see the just
so
I
happy.
love it. He's like, go. It's like super deeper than what it is. It's like, oh yeah, this is like super Saiyan Geralt. Let's go.
But let's give them some fake context the rest of the series.
I just love it because you're like, oh, it's about to get real. He's taking the potion.
He's
going in. He's going in
because it'll kill them.
It was great.
Yeah, it's like he's activating like his Byakugan or Sharingan. So.
Let's go.
Wait till you see me take 2 potions.
Yeah, exactly. Right. This isn't even my final form.
The fun fact is that the reason they can take those potions is because they metabolize things a lot quicker, including alcohol. So they have to drink a lot of alcohol to get drunk. A lot, and they do.
I'm not gonna lie, it sounds pretty awesome to be a Witcher. Like there's a lot of ups and downs. Obviously, the survival rate.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Here, let's just put it in perspective here, Christian. Let's say you get chosen to possibly be a Witcher, because you're not guaranteed to be a Witcher. You have to go through the hardest, grueling test of like physicality, like mentally straining everything, just to get up to the point to where, okay, now it's the process. Let's see if it works or not. It's a roll of the dice.
Okay, would you rather that happen or become an eel as a conduit?
I'd rather be a human.
A dead human or a live eel?
Nope. A human that has no magic.
It doesn't seem like humans survive a lot in this show. Like people are getting killed left and right. I don't think it's a good time. I think I'll take my chances being a Witcher. So you know what? I'm due to die any day now. So let's just roll the dice and see what happens.
I gotta ask, guys. Like, what school were you guys in The Witcher? Were you school the Griffin, the Viper, the Cat,
the Viper?
You're a Viper. I was always Viper. Always Viper.
Yeah, I mean, I hopped around, but yeah, Viper was definitely my favorite for sure.
Do you guys want to talk about your Harry Potter houses now? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm actually a Slytherin, so boom. It all matches up. But yeah, we've been going on.
You're a Slytherin?
Yeah, of course. I'm a proud Slytherin.
That checks out.
I thought he was gonna be like, you remind me of a Hufflepuff. Friends don't let
No, you're
friends.
not a Hufflepuff.
No, you're not a Hufflepuff.
Friends don't let friends. Okay. Oh my gosh. Anyway,
like, there's so many, so much stuff has just become more clear.
I guess.
Me finding out your Harry Potter school.
Well, Slytherins aren't evil. Slytherins are.
That's what
cunning.
they all say. That's what they all say.
I'm a Ravenclaw, by the way, but
we just produce the most dark wizards because we're We're just very miserable people.
Oh, all right.
I'm kidding. Malfoy. Hello, Potter.
Hello, Potter.
Every time.
You're my blood.
I love it. He like holds and he's like, hello, Potter. I'm like, get him, Draco. But let's.
I don't think that they could have chosen a better Malfoy to play. Like that actor just like
Tom Felton is fantastic.
He embodied that character, and even when he was in The Flash, all I could see was Malfoy.
I mean, of course,
it's the same character. Like, like they tried to like change him. Like, dude, nah, bro.
He was in Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, same for Planet of the Apes. I just saw him.
Yeah, so it's he was a bit like when the Return to Hogwarts documentary came out, he was like super engaging with fans like on Twitter and stuff. So Tom Felton's like the man. He's awesome.
Oh yeah, I think he's a great guy. He's just like he has that one role that defines him, and every role that he does afterwards, he still goes back to that role. Like,
oh yeah, it happens with a lot of people.
He can't escape it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I mean, even with
the guy who plays Joffrey, I don't like. He quit acting altogether because there's no way that he could get out of being.
He's like, I peaked.
The most hated person in the world.
He goes from Batman Begins to Game of Thrones, and he's done.
Yeah, then he's done.
He peaked.
Yeah.
Like he gets to meet Christian Bale and be held by Katie Holmes to being the absolute most hated human being on the entire planet.
But the nicest dude you'll probably ever meet in your life.
Yeah, dude's a fantastic human being in real life.
Yeah. So it kind of, fame hits everyone differently. So, I mean, we almost didn't have Emma Watson as Hermione from Order of the Phoenix going on because she was contemplating leaving altogether because the fame just got like too real for her. And it's, I mean, Harry Potter was like that, global phenomenon. But all right, we're gonna get into our final thoughts here. We'll just go around the podcast. We'll start with Sarah. We'll do final thoughts and then rating of the season, and we'll close out. So we'll start with Sarah. Go to Dives. Then we'll go to Shelby, and then I'll close this out.
Final thoughts. I'm gonna watch season 3 because I want to. Because I'm an optimist. Through all this negativity. Disappointed, but disappointed but hopeful. I'll leave it at that.
I thought you were going to say disappointed but not surprised.
Also, I mean, I am surprised because season 1 was so good. Like I loved season 1. But yeah, disappointed but hopeful.
Yeah. So what would you give a rating for season 2? They could be out of 5, whatever your rating scale is.
I would say, God, if I'm being nice, a 3. I would say a 2 if you're a fan, a 3.5 if you're not.
Okay.
Like when I say a fan of the original source material.
Right.
I mean, honestly, maybe even a 1.5 if you're a fan.
God, Sarah. No.
But 2.5, 3.5. What do I say? I don't even know.
We'll do a solid 2.5 for you.
She's like a straight water trash Christian. That's what it is.
1 out of 10 would not watch it again.
She said water trash.
I will watch season 3 because I have hope, but otherwise I was not. Yeah, 2.5. Sure. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Sarah's a very hopeful human being, as you guys have heard through this entire. All right,
she's hopeful. She's.
I like to give the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
she loves Henry.
She does.
Lord knows I do.
I think she's holding on for Henry for sure. But Dives, give us your final thoughts and your rating of Witcher season 2.
Final thoughts. Yeah, it was a lot of setup, man. If you can get through this season, the hope is that the story kind of just centralizes more around Geralt, Yen, and Ciri moving forward. You hope that we're gonna get a lot more world traveling and the monoliths and a little bit less confusion with the plot. I hope they figure it out. I hope the writing just improves because there are a lot of really cool moments in this season 2. I'm like I said at the beginning of the show, I thought the positives outweighed the negatives. I'm in that like 8 out of 10 range. It's definitely watchable. Is it rewatchable? Probably not. I don't know if I would probably sit through this again because of the amount of fillers and the confusing plot lines. And that, I can't lie, like that definitely carries over into season 3. Like how many people are literally hunting Ciri? Like literally a list of 10 groups, 10 people that will be hunting Ciri here moving forward. So the hope that we get, this like multiverse of madness in season 3 could be pretty fun. However, like I can't ignore some of the problems. I'm hopeful, like Sarah said, that we get a little more streamlined here moving forward and make this about that family dynamic between Geralt, Ciri, and Yen. So 8 out of 10 for me. It was good. It was good. Not great, and that's it.
Shelby, what about you?
I'd give it a 7 out of 10 because there was a lot of good things in the season. I'm on the same consensus that like I think I could rewatch it. I wouldn't have a problem rewatching it. I would just be even more disappointed. It wasn't Eternals bad for me, but it was pretty bad. Like Eternals was like one of those movies that like I had done so much research on and like
It's so bad.
Like was so excited for, and then I get to the movie theater on opening night. I watch the movie, and I'm just like, did I just pay to see this? But overall, I mean, with like, I literally didn't even have Netflix. The only reason I got Netflix back was to watch The Witcher. And so it was very disappointing. But they were still really good, like because I enjoy Henry Cavill. I think season 3 is going to be the deal breaker for me. And I think it'll be the defining moment for the series if it's going to carry on or if it's going to fall apart. But I'd give it a 7 if I'm being completely honest, because I think there was a lot of good that was more than the bad. It was just that the bad was so glaring that it really was offensive to a certain degree. It was like you cared so much about these other things, but then you left these other things, like you did these things and they were so glaringly bad that it just puts an off taste in your mouth. And so that does take it down to like a 7 or 6.5. Like if you were like Sarah, I would say you'd give it a 5. But like because it's not like a show that you couldn't watch because she obviously got through the season. And she was just disappointed because it didn't end up being her way. But I would say for me, it'd be a 7 because I'm not so much harping on the lore, but at the same time, get your stuff together. Like don't like you have an excellent opportunity to make quite a bit of money over a long period of time with this show, and I think this show even has the potential to outclass Game of Thrones because Game of Thrones was rated as one of the best TV shows of all time, but it ended in disaster.
Well, I just wanted to say Game of Thrones still is one of the best TV shows of all time.
It is. It is. I'm not saying that it isn't. I'm just saying like this can get to that level and surpass it because you have the source material to do it.
Yeah.
Just are you willing to do it?
They would have to do so much. Like I don't know, because Game of Thrones was a huge. I mean, obviously, The Witcher's it's big, but like Game of Thrones was definitely another level. I would love to see them get there, but like because everyone's trying to get that. Like every new show that has been out since after Game of Thrones has been trying to hit that level of fandom, and we haven't had that obviously since Game of Thrones. Wheel of Time is out. We are seeing a lot more like fantasy and young adult fantasy books being adapted into series, especially with Lock and Key. That's also on Netflix. Of course, you have Wheel of Time as well. There's a lot of source material out there, but for me, for The Witcher season 2, I think I'm leaning more towards with Dibes. Like I would give it an 8 out of 10. Just because I did enjoy it, I did enjoy the journey, but there are a lot of issues, especially like what we were talking about, like with the elf, like the politics.
Before you finish, can I just ask you one question?
What's up?
What would you rate Eternals?
I can pull out my letterbox right now. It's 4.5 stars out of 5.
Exactly.
I absolutely love it.
Dives, what would you rate Eternals?
Man, I was like a 5 out of 10. I hated it.
See, I'm on the same page as Dives. You're not on the same page as Dives. You're way off in left field over here saying, "Yeah, I agree with him. We're both giving it an 8." Dibes is with me. Like Eternals was like a 5.
I watched it again last week. I was in quarantine. It was even worse on my second watch.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, so back to my final thoughts for The Witcher season 2. I thought it was good, not great. Same as Dibes. Just the whole politics part, and Yen. I didn't really like Yen losing her magic, because I'm like, okay, so like, why are you here?
It makes no sense.
It was very, very
I'm
strange.
fine with her losing her magic to go through a struggle to learn something as like a lesson, and then like basically her overcoming herself to get her magic back, and come to find out it was just herself blocking her from her magic.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that.
Ugh. Let's not start. I'm gonna keep going for another half
didn't do
hour
that.
if we bring this back up.
But yeah, so anyway, so let me close out here. So yeah, it was just the whole, just all the politics. It became too messy for me, and then the Bard wasn't. I didn't think it was as good as it was in the first one.
Yeah.
I kind of missed the dynamic between him and Geralt in the first season. Bright side, Freya Allan finally has her eyebrows back. We're not. No, you guys don't understand. It bugs me so much.
I can tell.
In season 1, I'm like, where are her eyebrows? I'm like, oh, they're blonde. I'm like, but it doesn't look like she has eyebrows. But she looks smaller, obviously, because she was younger. But like, she was always in like this green
I
cloak.
shave my eyebrows and see if Christian notices.
Like and follow for more eyebrow reviews.
It's just something. I mean, it is literally probably one of the number one things that I noticed. I'm like, oh my god, like her eyebrows are. But like, I don't know if that's like her natural color or not. But it is what it is. But yeah, overall, I thought it was good, not great. I mean, obviously, I'm going to be watching season 3. When I start a show, I watched 3 seasons of DC Titans, and wow, that was a lot to get through. But season 3 was okay, but there were times where I'm like, why am I still watching this? But let me wrap up here. Just want to thank you guys so much for coming on. For all the listeners out there, like I said, it is more of just, this was more of just like it is a bonus episode, a little bit more unstructured than what we're usually used to here on the show, but that's okay, because it's the weekend and we like to blow off a little bit of steam every now and then. So I guess I'll go around the pod really quick. Dibes, let everyone know where they can find you on the internet and what's coming up on your podcast over on Suit Up Geeks.
Yeah, so I'm one of the co-hosts of the Suit Up Geeks. Check us out on Twitter at the Suit Up Geeks, as well on YouTube. We do, Boba Fett reviews. We do Versus series where we pit 2 of the best in the genre versus each other and grade them each out of 10, break it down analytics-wise, and see who is the winner. We do movie drafts. We just got done with our Best Picture winners and noms draft. Matt won that one. That was he just crushed it. Absolutely crushed the voting by far. So what that is it's a 10-team fantasy football style movie draft where live we 10 teams, 10 people pick 5 or 6 of their favorite films in a category. This past one we did Best Picture winners and noms. Next month in February, we're doing rom-coms, which I'm really excited about. We've never done that category before. So if you guys ever want to join, you're more than welcome. Christian already won a fucking draft. You already won it.
Yeah, I'm king, baby. Let's go.
Christian's a baller. I already have a W. We're going to be doing a, championship tournament, tournament of champions type of draft in March. We're almost at 10 people. We're at 8 now. So next February, in a few days, will be rom-coms. We're doing a rom-com versus coming up. We're doing When Henry Met Sally versus You've Got Mail. So a lot of Meg Ryan on the channel coming very soon. We also do movie trivia nights every Friday night. And, to keep going with that theme, it will be rom-com movie trivia. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Expect a lot of Adam Sandler. Expect a lot of all that kind of stuff. So you can check me out on Twitter at Mr. Crockpot. I also do a lot of sports content every single day, but we're not here for that. So that's a little bit of where we are at. So also we're doing a Peacemaker season review when that finishes. So thanks, man. It's been an honor to join, man. I love fantasy content, and I'm beyond excited for the Percy Jackson series coming out in a couple years. But anything fantasy, man, is my shit.
Yeah, it's Dive's first time. I've been trying to get him on the podcast. It's just been super crazy with a lot of things, and I was like, we finally had an opportunity to do so. But as the Sci-Fi King winner, when is the fantasy behind?
Yeah, that'll be next season. So we're trying to get our 10 winners, do a big tournament of champions in March. Then we're gonna have a whole new season 2 where fantasy is going to be among the top of our first drafts. No
so
question.
Like is this going to be like fantasy, like TV and movies all together, or just movies? Because there's a lot of fantasy that's also TV. That's what I'm asking.
I think season 2 we're going to change things up.
Oh,
so we're if you it's evolve or die.
Yeah.
So I think season 2 expect a lot of changes with our movie drafts.
All right. Our other two guests are not. Long story short, they're off the grid when it comes to Twitter.
Yeah, I'm completely off the grid. You can't find me on anything.
I'm on Instagram all the time. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just kidding.
If you like watching horses,
I'm not going to plug my Instagram.
If you like horses, join Sarah. She posts a lot of horses.
But you have to find her. She's not going to tell you where to find her. But
who is she?
I don't know.
The mystery.
But yeah, so our other two guests, they're off the grid when it comes to like Twitter and whatnot. But I wanted to thank them again for coming on. If you love more, fantasy stuff, you can listen to me and Shelby talk about Arcane. We did a entire season 1 review. We kind of just gushed about it for about an hour and a half, and it was a good time. And of course, you can check out me dominate on the sci-fi draft that is also on the Suit Up Geeks YouTube channel, of course. And of course, me and Dives, we did check out their their Wheel of Time content and whatnot, because it really was a fun time. And of course, we also talked about Arcane on your channel as well.
God, so I won't just take me back. Take me back. That Arcane show, fuck me.
You can't have a bad time when you talk about Arcane.
That's the best show.
One of the best shows ever made.
Like, if I could rewatch Arcane as if I was watching it for the first time, I'd be so happy.
Over and over.
That would be
heaven on earth.
Yeah, it blew me away for sure. But yeah, so other than that, what's coming up on the show really quick. So by the time this drops, our review of the Fallout that is now streaming on HBO Max will be up on the podcast as well. And just a few little call to actions. If you don't know, we do have a Discord. We're trying to build a community full of movie and TV, film nerds, however you want to say it. You can find that link in the episode link or the show notes down below. And of course, always leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple or Spotify, whichever platform you are listening on. We're just trying to get some cool, nice little feedback. And, it's always fun to hear back from fans. And of course, before we end, always make sure to share this episode with a friend, your mother, your brother, your lover, whoever it is. Make sure to share an episode of the Film Optix podcast with them. We've done a lot of great content within this past year. This is the beginning of a new year. So, you love Harry Potter content. We did Matrix. Those are 2 of our franchise revisited series that we did last year. We are currently going through our Hunger Games franchise revisited. The first episode is already up on the podcast for everyone to listen to. And I believe we're going to be doing Catching Fire since it is a monthly series. We're going to be doing that sometime in February. So definitely follow us online for that over on Twitter. But let me close this out here really quick so we can get out of here. And that's a wrap for today. Thank you all for listening. And if you enjoy the show, leave us a 5-star rating review on Apple or Spotify. And follow us on Twitter or on Instagram to stay in the know. That was Sarah, Dives, Shelby. My name is Christian. We'll see you guys in the next one.